Now the thing is, everybody is born with these upadhis. They are basically, it's like appendages. We come with all our paraphernalia. We don't go alone. We are coming with all our. This is what I am. This is who you are. That is what I am supposed to do. Everything we have our do's and don'ts and a pile of things which we carry in this life, including our casteism, including the I'm a man, I'm a woman. I can't do this, I can't do that. We are only allowed to do this, we are not allowed to do that. All these restrictions and confinements from the society, they form a part of our being. And the moment you seem to have them, it may be sectarian, it could be family, it could be society, it could be country, it could be anything, it could be your own body. The restrictions can come because of any of these things. Even our body restrictions is, I can't do this because of this reason. Something like that. Like uh, say going to the temple. So somebody will say, no, today is Saturday, I don't go to the temple on Saturday. Okay, what is the big deal? हमारी family में कोई भी Saturday को temple नहीं जाता. I mean, some strange reason will be there. And every such type of restriction in our world, we carry them in our life, so as if they are love chimbak. Our body is like that, so we are sticking them to all our body and created a false imagery of our own self in our own mind. And this is what doesn't allow us to move ahead. So when you go to the guru, what does he do first? He first tells you to remove all your clothes, shave off your head, and you makes you pura nanga. And then he says, now go and take a bath and come back. Is basically like what he's trying to do is he's trying to tell you, get rid of your body consciousness. That is the biggest thing that you need to overcome, the body consciousness. And that is the reason why they have this tarpan ceremony where you do your own terma and all that, as if you have yourself died. And this is the basic criteria, where you have left everything out there and come inside. Then the surrender happens. It is actually a sort of a physical activity where you are shaving your head and all that stuff, but in the spiritual world it has got a lot of meaning. It means that you have left your upadhis behind, all your appendages. I am so and so's son, I am so and so's daughter, I belong to this family, I am doing this. So there is neither country nor family nor anybody to call your own.
Let go of your identity.
Yes. And that is the time when surrender will happen. And when surrender happens, then you can proceed on the path. But otherwise, now let us say a person has come, and I had in between written a story of a person whom Shankaracharya. Now Shankaracharya used to roam all over India. He went from his Kaladi, is a place where he was born, to Kaladi, or I don't know how you all pronounce it, but whichever way. So in Kerala it is there. So he went all over India. So he came to this place where he had written a treatise, the Brahma Sutras and all that. Now, when he was trying to find out who is the great person in India who can edit my work, or who can give me tippanni, or can correct my works, at that point in time he comes across this name called Kumarilla Bhatta. Kumarilla Bhatt. So he goes to Kumarilla Bhatt. He comes to know he is over there. So when he goes over there, he sees that Kumarilla Bhatt has, how they cook, eat bolega to bricks. Have you seen how brick kilns are made? This person is literally inside a brick kiln like a structure, and he is burning himself to death by slowly lighting a flame. That flame is burning his body from inside, and it's a slow and a painful death. So Shankaracharya goes to him, Adi Shankaracharya, and says, what is this you are doing? You should be coming out of it. Don't do this. So he says, no, I have to do this. So he asks, why do you have to do this? So then he tells him the story that he had Kumarila Bhatt was a great Vedic scholar. Now, this is during the time when Buddhism was gaining a lot of prominence. So he goes to Nalanda, and there he meets a very great Buddhist monk, a sage, basically a teacher, and he tells him falsely that I have come to study under you Buddhism, so that if you know your enemy's weaknesses, then you can kill him. The basic idea concept was that. So he starts learning Buddhism over there under this great person. Finally, one day there is a particular story where there's a particular stage when that person is deriding the Vedas a lot. He says Vedas are not giving the right picture, Buddhism is the right this thing. And Kumarila Bhatta couldn't stand it, so he blurts out, he says, no, Vedas are blah, blah, blah. And immediately they come to know, oh my God, this fellow is a Hindu, he is a believer of Hinduism. So they catch hold of him. And then they say, now we have to punish you. So then he argues with his guru and he says, you don't understand. Vedas are the ultimate authority and all that. So he says, okay, fine. If that is the case, no, I will push you down this mountain. Let us see if your Vedas can save you. So he says, don't say like that, if my Vedas are true, I will be saved. And they push him down the mountain. So when they push him down the mountain, he falls down. Nothing happens to him except one eye goes. He becomes blind in one eye. And then he says to his disciples when he meets them, he says, I doubted the Vedas. I said, if the Vedas can, that if word I should not have used. Now this is an English translation. Naturally at that time he must have uttered in Sanskrit. So, and then he starts fighting with this Buddhists, it's an argumentative. So Tarka and Vad Vivad and all those things happen and he wins. He defeats a lot of these people. But then there is a remorse in him. The remorse that comes in him is that, I have cheated on my teacher. And I should not be doing this because Vedas do not teach you to cheat on your teacher. And you should never tell lies to him. So he says that for the prayaschit, I am going to burn myself like this. And that is why he is in that kiln. So Adi Shankaracharya shows him, says, this is not a done thing. So he says, no, even if he is a Buddhist, he is my teacher at the end of the day. And I need to honor, I should be ashamed of myself that I did try to cheat him. So he says, I have to do this. So before he says, anyway, you do one thing, whatever that you have come to show me, show me. So they keep it on top of the kiln like this. Imagine his mundi is outside this much and he's looking at it like this with his one eye like this. Okay, because he has got one eye, remember. So he looks with his one eye and he reads the opening paraphrase lines and all that, and he says, oh my God, this is an amazing work that you have done. And then he endorses Shankaracharya over there itself, that you are the original identification of the divine and all that. And then Shankaracharya says, but I need time for this, you need to do the analysis. So he says, I'm sorry, I will die in a very few hours time, I cannot do that. So he says, but I have got I'll give you an answer. You do one thing. I have got a very great disciple of mine who is very far, one of the greatest disciples that I have had. Why don't you go to him and you can meet him and there you can get your answers. So he says, who is this person? So he says his name is Mandana Mishra. Mandana Mishra. And Shankaracharya then goes to meet Mandana Mishra. And when he meets Mandana Mishra is doing Tulsi Puja and all that. Remember, he is a Vedantist. He is a great scholar of Vedanta. So he's doing the puja and all that, and he tells, he doesn't even look at Shankaracharya. He continues doing his morning puja, and Shankaracharya is waiting with all his group outside over there. Finally, he finishes the puja and comes and immediately touches his feet. So he says, I mean, why are you touching my feet? He says, in our country we say this, all the guests are welcome. Atiti Devo Bhava. So please come inside. Then he says, you must be the great Shankaracharya that I have heard of, and you have come for this purpose. He says, yeah, I have come for this. So there he meets this husband and wife team. That is Mandana Mishra and his wife Sharda Devi. And Mandana Mishra goes on to become, he gets a new name later on, Sureshwara, and that is how the story is. So this is exactly how the whole thing has to proceed. Basically, in our world also, when we do certain things, we have to do them with clear intentions. I think Senthil had written one question. I'm sorry, Senthil, I didn't see the question. I saw it just now. Okay, before Buddhism, I'll take up your question. Before Buddha was there Buddhism? Yes. Buddhism basically means getting the divine knowledge. Getting divine knowledge. Okay, all right. One moment, I'll just send this. Who else is there? One sec. Okay. All right. One sec, huh? Okay. Who else is there? I don't know. Somebody sent me. All right. One. How do you send this? I don't know how to send this link. So I'll have to open one more maybe. Yes. किधर है ना वो? किधर है वो? ये कैसा भेजने का?
No, why base your window?
My window is here. Okay, I think she's joined. Okay. Okay, Shri. Okay, this Lakshmi is here. Okay, good. Hi. Okay, you are in the bus. Okay. All right, no problem. So I'll just answer Senthil's question. Okay. So yes, now Buddhism basically happened to be before also. It's like Christianity or what we call as a Hinduism existed before that. But definition is never given till the time. Like say for example, Buddhism's definition happened during and after the time of Gautam Buddha, whom we call as Gautam Buddha. The world knows him as Shakyamuni. Okay, Shakyamuni Buddha Shakyamuni. Now before Buddha, there were many other Buddhas also. Okay, and these Buddhas existed before the time of Shakyamuni as well. All right. Buddha means reaching a state of enlightenment. The term Buddha comes from the Bodhi tree. It's a tree which we call ficus, I think. I don't know what it is called. There's a tree which you see where Buddha is sitting. हम लोग मराठी में उसको पिंपला का झाड़ बोलते हैं, अभी पीपल ट्री बोलते हैं शायद. हाँ. So he was sitting under that tree where he got enlightened. So that tree is called the Bodhi. Bodh, intellect, intelligence, knowledge, that. And that is what it entitles, So Buddhism, understanding Buddhism happened during the time of Buddha. Before that, people were there, not that they were not Buddhas. They were enlightened beings, but religion as such never existed before that of Buddhism. It is when Buddha got enlightenment, after that he met his disciples, and then he started his Sangha. You see, with the 4 people, he started this Sangha. Sangha is a group. So when he started the Sangha and he started propagating his teachings, that is a time when Buddhism as a religion was established. And then he used to, the 40 years of teachings were put together at different stages, different levels, different places. He had gone even to his place of birth also. So there also he is taught. He is taught all over India. And that teachings were culled together, and that is how Buddhism became a sort of a religious group. Okay? So we will continue. Padma, any other question? No. Okay. So you see, yesterday we stopped at 50. So I will start from 50 only. Arjuna, you know me only briefly, the process through which man, having attained actionlessness, which is the highest consummation of Jnana Yoga, the path of knowledge, reaches Brahma. Now, actionlessness, while performing an action, not bothering about the end result. Okay, we have to continue to do the action. This is what we were talking about yesterday and before that also. You have to continue to do the action, meanwhile not bothering about the results and continuing onwards. That is performing an action yet being actionless. Now we will take up the 51 to 53. Endowed with a pure intellect and partaking of light, Satvika and the regulated diet, living in a lonely and an undefiled place, having rejected sound and other objects of senses, having controlled the mind, speech and body by restraining the mind and senses through firmness of a sattvic type, taking a resolute stand on dispassion, after having completely got rid of attraction and aversion and remaining ever devoted to the yoga of meditation, having given up egotism, violence, arrogance, lust, anger and luxuries, devoid of the feeling of niyam and tranquil of heart, such a man becomes qualified for oneness with Brahma, who is truth, consciousness and bliss. How does a person reach the state of the divine? This is it's a very large paragraph over here. There are 3 verses put together. So, and it is nothing but the entire synopsis of what we have done till just now. It's a synopsis of everything in just 2-3 words, 2-3 words. Endowed with pure intellect. How do you have to endure with pure intellect? The intellect which is not tainted by the material worldly stuff. Okay, see, our material world is always tainting us. We always get swayed by whatever that is there happening in the material world. It's like even the tainting can be of color. Just we see color. Even let us say, for example, if we see I like black color in a car, somebody will say, no, I don't like black, I like white. Somebody else will say, no, I like red color cars. So are you not tainted? So here the tainting is happening because of our senses and the mind. So the intellect is also getting all the colors of outside. Here, when the intellectual thought is flowing from inside outwards, it is purity itself. The intellect is purified. Remember, I said the flow happens through inward outward or outward inward. So here inward outward, when we have the first thought coming in, intellect is having no such tainting happening. So that is a pure intellect. It carries only the essence of the godliness in you. Okay, so that is purified intellect. And partaking of a light, sattvic and regulated diet. Light, मतलब भर पेट खाएगा तो नींद आ जाती है So you eat in moderation. Sattvic diet, I have explained Sattvic diet to you all, something that you feel comfortable eating. And there is no restriction for meat or anything like that written over here. Okay, it is not it says in general terms stale food and all we should not eat naturally. I see, basically if you eat stale food maybe you will fall sick. Why get into all those things? And so have fresh food, healthy diet, that is what he says. Regulated diet, रेगुलेटेड डाइट मतलब है ना, सैटरडे संडे को हॉलीडे रहता है, चिकन मटन बिरयानी बनाने का, जोरदार खाने का, और पूरा हफ्ते में बाकी का कुछ नहीं खाने का. ऐसा नहीं होता है. You have to balance out the entire week. That means don't gorge yourself just because you are going for somebody's wedding. वहां पे जाके भरपेट खा लिया, बोला 2 दिन है ना फिर तकलीफ हो जाएगा, ऐसा नहीं. You have to be very very careful. Then living in a lonely and an undefiled place. I explained this also to you. Undefiled means, see, people around you, okay, they defile it. How do they defile it? एक तो mind, body and the surroundings are never clean. Okay, तो ऐसा नहीं है कि हार्पिक लाके धोने का या फिर फिनाइल डाल के धोएगा तो एकदम क्लीन होता है, ऐसा नहीं है. You may be sitting even in a smashan, you know. Please understand, the purity has to be there within you. So the defiling is always in the mind. Okay, the place, it may be a smashan. Smashan means the graveyard. But if you are pure, if your mind is pure, the place also becomes pavitra. Got it? It becomes pavitra, clean, and that is what we actually have to look at. So you may be sitting bang in the middle of Mumbai or New York City, does not matter. Or you may be in Times Square, for all you know, the most busiest place in the world. Does it really matter? No. You may be sitting bang there itself, and yet you may be having the tranquility, the peace that you want. The world is going around you. Nothing happens. You are not getting tainted by anything. So it all depends on you. The place also needs to be clean, yes. Then we have, having rejected sound and other objects of senses. How do you reject sound and other objects of senses? By cutting off the connections, isn't it? Cutting off the connections to the senses. Now most of these things which are written, no, they are very difficult to achieve, and that is the reason why the sannyasa is recommended for people. You try, even if you try your level best to sit in your room peacefully and quietly, your neighbor upstairs is going to be banging on the ceiling, dum 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 dum. Or somebody's car will be backfiring. A TV will be going on in the neighboring room loudly. A mother and child are going to be over there going on. Or some neighbor will come or something. At such times it is difficult. You need actual peace and quiet. So even if you take these words in a very literal sense by whatever they mean, you can be in a peaceful and a quiet place. You can shut off the entire world, okay, and you can be peaceful in one place. I think most of the people in our group have this qualification. It's like Padma can be sitting in her room, and yeah, I'll just send invite to Guru. He's here. Let us see where he is. Yeah. So now Tej goes to college. Now Padma can be there in her room, absolutely peaceful. She can sit the whole day also. The place will be perfect. Nobody to interfere, nobody to trouble. Phone can be switched off. You can be sitting in one place. Absolutely peace could be there. But if your mind is disturbed, मतलब आज बिल भरने का है या कुछ करने का है, ऐसा कुछ अगर आ गया माइंड में ना, then you know your mind is going to be going in that direction. 100 feet road चला जाएगा. But here in our case, we should have completely undefiled body, mind and environment around us. So it is required that you pull yourself out of a place and go to a place and be lost in that world. The concept of ashrama comes because of this. The concept called ashram comes because of this itself, and that is the reason why it is mentioned that if it is possible for you to pull yourself out and go towards this peace and quiet atmosphere, and it is a regulated thing, just like he said, no, have a regulated diet. In the same way we can have a regulated life also, because in most of the ashrams and all, you have to get up in the morning, you have to do your pranayam, you have to do your yoga or whatever. It's a very regulated thing, and there the mind is trained, just like when you train a wild horse, चाबुक लेके टक 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 करके मार के उसको बराबर ठीक करते हैं ना, वैसे वहां पे गुरुजी चाबुक लेके बैठते रहते हैं, बोला चलो ये करो वो करो वो करो. So that is how it works, and that is why we can take it in the literal sense also. Having controlled the mind, speech and body by restraining the mind and senses to the firmness of a sattvic type. We have done this mind, speech and body restrainment in the previous lines. We have to do it of a sattvic type. Taking a resolute stand on dispassion. We have to become dispassionate, yes. I mean, we can't be having I like this, I want that, ye chahiye, wo chahiye. No, dispassion has to be like a steady flow of water, steady. And having completely got rid of attractions and aversions and remained ever devoted to the yoga or meditation. I don't like this and I like that. You can't have those things also in your mind. Again, so there should neither be an attraction nor an aversion to anything. And when you have this meditation, again we discussed about meditation, oneness with the Lord, you have to focus, you have to come onto the track and focus onto this, our objective, having given up egotism, violence, arrogance, lust, anger and luxuries. These are something which we have been continuously doing. Egotism, I, me, myself, get rid of it. Who are you to do this? See, every time when the person says I did it, okay, so you are greater than the one who is within you. You are the one who has done it. So this happens. So getting rid of violence, anger, lust, greed, all these things you got to get off. Devoid of the feeling of miyam and tranquil of heart. मैंने किया, miyam, मेरा है, ये मेरा है, this is mine, this is mine. When we keep on saying these words, that is not healthy. And then tranquil of heart, peaceful, absolutely. Such a man becomes qualified. This is only the qualification, by the way. Reaching it is a different story. First is you need to get qualification. Acha, you are a graduate. Now you can apply for IIM. Maybe a lack of people will apply. कितने जन को मिलेगा क्या पता, है ना? So in the same way, this is just a qualification. It is the qualities that are required for reaching the oneness with Brahma. So which is Satchitananda, established in identity with Brahma, who is truth consciousness and bliss solidified, and cheerful in mind, the Sankhya yogi no longer grieves nor craves for anything. The same to all beings, such a yogi attains supreme devotion to me. Now, we are talking about the Sankhya yogi. Remember, in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, we started with the Sankhya yoga, correct? So it's a synopsis of that. All this, the last line, the entire 51, 52, 53 spoke of the entire 3-4 chapters in brief. Now, after the person has achieved this state of Sankhya, of reaching this state of oneness with the Lord, what does he do? He no longer grieves nor craves for anything. He is not bothered, I want this or I want that. He is not bothered about कि अभी ये करने का है, वो करना है, ऐसा करना है, वैसा करना है. He will not say कि मुझे काम भी करना है and I want to then have devotion. No, that means once he is qualified for Sankhya yoga, he automatically gets devotion as buy one get one free. So Krishna says the one who has reached the state of this liberation of Satchitananda, I personally hand over this additional qualification to the person. So he becomes a devotee also. Through that supreme devotion, he comes to me in reality, who I am, and thereby knowing me truly, he forthwith merges into my being. So what happens to this person? He becomes my great devotee. Once he becomes my great devotee, he knows who I am. See, knowing me in reality, first and foremost, we have always considered Krishna as some person that we know from Gokul, Vrindavan and Dwarka and all those places. No, who is the real Krishna? Krishna is the supreme divine consciousness. We have discussed this. He is far beyond the manifest, beyond the first manifest to the second manifest. He is the supreme Purusha. We have done all these things. So the person who is a Sankhya yogi comes to know this also. So who I am and what I am, and thereby knowing me truly, who forthwith merges into my being. Now we are going to the next one, that is Karma Yogi. The Karma Yogi, however, who depends on me, attains by my grace the eternal imperishable state, even though performing all actions. So now we are talking of Karma Yogi. First we spoke of Sankhya, now we are talking about Karma Yogi. Now Karma Yogi is a person who is continuously doing his job. You remember? Karma. He is performing his actions which are prescribed for him, that which comes to him naturally. He is doing them. He is not bothered about the results. Remember how Karma Yogi performs? He is supposed to do all the actions without bothering about the results and whatever subsequent actions that happen. So such a type of a person, Karma Yogi, however, who depends on me, attains by my grace the eternal imperishable state, even though performing all actions. See, he also attains that state, that imperishable state. That means the state of Brahma. Mentally dedicating all your actions to me and taking recourse to yoga in the form of even-mindedness, he is solely devoted to me, and constantly fix your mind on me. Now, for a Karma Yogi, whom is he talking to? Krishna is talking to Arjuna. So here Arjuna is being told, you also are a Karma Yogi, correct? Because you are also performing a lot of actions over here. So dedicate these actions to me. Remember, we were talking about Krishna Arpan, dedicating all actions to the Lord. That means you don't take credit of anything. No credit taking. You are only a tool in the hands of the Lord. So do your karma, do your actions, perform them perfectly. So dedicating all your actions to me, taking recourse to the yoga in the form of even-mindedness, samabhav, even-mindedness, idhar bhi nahi, udhar bhi nahi. Remember, going left, right, we were talking about having the equanimity. Okay, having equanimity in mind, he becomes solely devoted to me. He also becomes my devotee. Such a person who is a Karma Yogi also becomes my devotee by fixing the mind on me. So he fixes the mind on me, because when we are meditating, we are fixing the mind on the Lord. With your mind thus devoted to me, you shall by my grace overcome all difficulties. But if from self-conceit you do not care to listen to me, you will be lost. What? So what happens to this Karma Yogi? After performing the actions, an ahankara comes in a person. मेरी वजह से इसको admission मिला. Many a times we say these words. If I was not there now, then this person would not be in this position. Okay, so you have done a great job, and because of you he is there in that place. हाँ, देखो मैंने मेरे भाई को बड़ा किया, वो पाल पोस के बड़ा किया, ये हुआ वो हुआ. And the person at the end, he always gives a disclaimer at the end. See, I am not an egotist, but you have to understand, if I was not there, he would not have reached his position. It is nothing but self-conceit. It is nothing but this ego is somewhere, it is rising within. It says, if I was not there, see, I was there, that's why he did. So this person, if he does not dedicate the action to the Lord, the part called self-conceit will definitely come in him, and it's a part and parcel of that person's life. So You have to put your mind devoted to the Lord. Then you can overcome all difficulties. But if you say, I was responsible for it, and if you don't listen to what I am saying, there are certain actions. Remember, we are talking about Karma Yoga. Before that, we spoke of Sankhya. In Karma Yoga, remember, those actions which come to you naturally. We did this yesterday. What actions that you're supposed to do which come to you naturally? That is your Swadharma. And the Swadharma is very, very well defined. देखो ये तुमने करना है. But a person says, you know, why should I do this? I am better qualified for doing that job. Okay. So what happens? That person is doing it with self-conceit. You are deriding me, Krishna says this. You don't want to listen to what I am saying. If taking your stand on egotism, you think I will not fight, when is this resolve of yours? Nature will drive you to act. So, if you are not at all interested in doing the job which I have recommended for you to do, and you say कि मैं ये करना है, I don't want to do this. I will do something that is more easier. That is something which I love doing. You know, this is my forte. Person says these words. You know, this is my forte. I love this job. So any person who thinks with egotism like this and denies what I am telling him to do, and says I can't do this. When is the resolve of that person? He can try his level best, trying to do that job of his. कान पकड़ के मैं तुमको इधर वापस लेके आऊंगा और वही करने को लगाऊंगा जो मुझे करने का है तुम्हारे पास से. So you can do whatever you feel like. जाओ करने की कोशिश तो करो. But because you have put your mind in the picture, and because you have said no to me, and because you have gone against your innate nature, you have got into very big trouble. Now see what he is going to say. If taking your stand on egotism and you think I will not fight. Who said these words? Arjuna said, नहीं मैं कैसे fight कर सकता हूँ? I can't kill my near and dear ones. This person is my Bhishma Pitama. He is Dronacharya. I can't do this. I can't do that. And Krishna has told him very nicely, see, your duty as a Kshatriya is to go and do this job. You are supposed to go and fight. Why are you bothered about the results? कौन मरता है, कौन जिंदा रहता है? तुमको काम करना है तुम्हारा, तुमने काम करना चाहिए. उसमें तुमको कितना दुखता है? Why is it hurting you? Why you are getting into trouble? What is this? Your mind is constantly coming in the picture. All this you please forget it. It is not important. You got to do what I have told you to do. And that is your innate nature. And I have defined these innate natures right from the beginning of time. And you are supposed to be doing. And if you are going to say, I am not going to do it, when is the resolve of yours? Your resolve which you are saying, no, I am not going to do it, ये गलत बात है. Nature will drive you to act. You know my nature, माया, प्रकृति, वो ऐसा कानपट्टी पे गन रख के बोलता है कि अभी तो करेगा नहीं तो देख लेना. You know, it is like, have you seen the bullock cart? The bullocks, they are yoked, okay, and till the time that चाबुक is hitting them, फटाक करके ना, तब तक वो जरा भागता है, टक 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 टक. फिर थोड़ा देर के बाद धीरे 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 फिर एकदम धीरे हो जाता है, ऐसा ऐसा. So again one chabuk has to be given, then they again start going. So bullock carts are like that. So we are like these bullocks only. We don't want to go in the straight line. We don't want to continue with it because उसमें क्या फायदा है करके पूछेगा. मार तो मिलती है ना, वो कृष्णा की माया है, वो तो लगाती रहती है फटाक 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 करके. मेरे चमड़ी उघड़ के रख दिया. Okay. And I hate this thing. Why should I do it? No, you will be forced to do it. So this is what it is. So the universe, Krishna himself doesn't lift his finger and put on the button. नहीं, वो खुद नहीं करता है कुछ. वो तुमको मालूम है, वो by proxy काम करता है. You know, most of the countries are ruled by proxy only. The king is different, and there is a person in front who is completely different. He is ruled. So in the same way, what happens to this is the Prakriti does all this job for Krishna. and then you will have to do the same act which you are saying no to. That action too which you are not willing to undertake through ignorance, you will perforce perform, bound by your own duty, born of your nature. So the actions which you are so much refusing to do in your material world, those same actions I will get them performed through you, through your own nature. I will ensure that because of your own nature you will be doing the same actions which you are refusing to do at this given moment in time. So that action too which you are not willing to undertake through ignorance. Ignorance happens because of the coverings, isn't it? Maya is making us think of all these things. And remember, Maya in the form of my own Prakriti, कान पकड़ के वही काम करने को लगा रहे. Arjuna, God abides in the hearts of all creatures, causing them to revolve according to their karma by his elusive power, Maya, as though mounted on a machine. Please understand, you are literally like a machine. You are going round and round and round. You know merry-go-round, have you seen? Those horses that are there, ऐसा ऊपर नीचे होते रहते हैं. वो हॉर्स को लगता है कि मैं भाग रहा हूं. But horse is not running. The machine is driving it right round and round and round and round. Even in our when we were children, you know, we used to push the train from inside the train, thinking that मैं धक्का मारता हूं इसीलिए गाड़ी चलती है. So we are like these kids. Even in our current life also, we are no better than the kids. We think that we are the one who are driving our world around us. So Krishna says these beautiful words over here. I abide in you, sir. I am the one who is pointing out to you from inside. मैं अंदर से चाबुक मारता हूँ, फटक 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 करके. वो भी मेरी माया है ना, वो बहुत काम करती है मेरे लिए. And you will do exactly as your karma has destined you to do. You can't say that I don't want to go to this place and I don't want to go to. If it is destined, you will anyway land up over there. And your innate nature will drive you to do that. That innermost nature of yours, no, it will make you do those actions. Okay? That is what is always happening in our world. We always come up with these things, you know, ki, I didn't want to do this, but I ended up doing that. Sir, you were supposed to do that. Who is telling you I was not supposed to do that? You were supposed to do that. But your ahankar has said, you know, I fought and I fought and I fought. Finally, I had to do the same thing. Yes, you were supposed to do that. So take refuge in him alone with all your being, Arjuna. By his mere grace, you will attain supreme peace and the eternal abode. Now, did you notice in the last two lines, there is a change in the tone?
Please take refuge in him. So what does he mean by him?
See, if you see the previous page, solely devoted to me and constantly fix your mind on me. Has he said these words? Okay, mentally dedicating all your actions to me. And now suddenly where does his come? See these words.
Why he said this?
Take refuge in him alone with all your being, Arjuna. By his mere grace you will attain supreme peace and the eternal abode. What is the difference between these words and the words before? Here he is talking of me and there he is talking of his. Now who is this me and his? See, there is a definition over here which you need to understand. Yeah. Okay. Krishna has, in the previous lines, if you see those lines, he is talking of something which he says, you know, attain supreme devotion to me. He forthwith merges into my being. Okay, solely devoted to me. What happens over here is, when you cross beyond the stages of Brahma by means of Sankhya Yoga or Karma Yoga, you become a devotee because of his grace. and the only path open for reaching him is the path of devotion. Got it? And now in the last two lines, what he's talking about is the action part of life. Got it? The action part of life he is talking about. He is talking about an ahankari purush. He is talking of a person who is ahankari. I did it, I did it, I did it. Where is that person supposed to go? That person will end up in the Brahma, in the first unmanifest. He is going to get dissolved because there is no devotion in that person. If he was a devotee, please understand, if this man was a devotee of Krishna, then where is the ahankara? There is no I, me, myself there. Where is the question of, see, there will be no self-conceit. The moment you have surrendered to Krishna, the moment you have become devoted to Krishna, the moment you are in love with Krishna, there is no question of having a self-conceit. There is no question of having an ego. If taking your stand on egotism, please understand, the ego and this self-conceit has come into the picture. Who is this person who is saying, I am doing it, I am doing it? It is your personal ego which tells you. But a devotee doesn't have that ego at all. He sublimated his ego. See the funny part over here in verse 55, he says, he forthwith merges into my being. My being. He is lost in Krishna. This is the difference. Please understand this difference very carefully. So to get to him, he has to take refuge in him. With all your being, by his mere grace, you will attain supreme peace and eternal abode. Got it? Right? Understood? So leaving your self-conceit, leaving your ego outside, then you can do your action. But till you have not left your ego and all that, you are only going to achieve the unmanifest. That is the max you can do. Thus has his wisdom, the most profound secret of all secret, being imparted to you by me. Deeply ponder over it. Now do as you like. Isn't it a very funny line? He is telling Arjuna, now do what you want to. In the previous line he is saying, तुमको कान पकड़ के मैं वही करने को लगाऊंगा, मेरी, my prakriti and Maya is going to put you all going to do the same thing which you don't want to do. And now he says, तुमको जो करने का है तुम करो, जाओ. It's a very funny line. Yes, Padma has written something which is also right. Krishna is not taking ownership. This ownership Krishna doesn't take, because Krishna is not individual the way we look at it. He is Dvaita, Advaita and everything as well. You see, the type of Krishna that we are praising is the supreme divine consciousness. It engulfs everything. The manifest, the unmanifest, the first manifest, the second unmanifest. तुमको है नहीं उतना सब मिक्स करके डाल दो उसमें, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. And the moment he takes up an ownership, he is creating an identification which will trap him into the cycle of birth and death. Just like Shri Ram or Parshuram or Narsimha, all these avatars, they have to keep on coming because they have no way out. They are an avatar of Vishnu, Mahavishnu, isn't it? So, here again my supremely profound words, the most esoteric of all truth. As you are extremely dear to me, therefore I shall give you this salutary advice for your own good. So after telling him do what you want, he again tells him, no, now I am again going to give you a salutary advice. अभी और एक बार सुन लो मांगता है तो, ठीक है? तुम मेरे बहुत चहीते हो, इसीलिए देखो मैं तुमको और एक बार ना चेतावनी देके वापस बोल रहा हूँ कि ये सुन लो मेरी बात. Okay, so now let us see what he is saying. Give your mind to me. Be devoted to me. Worship me and bow down to me. Doing so, you will come to me alone. I truly promise you, for you are exceptionally dear to me. Who is this Arjuna he is talking to? The Arjuna that he is talking to is all you and me, nobody else. He says, give your mind to me. Our mind is given to the material world. We are so much lost in our material world that our mind is constantly, somebody's microphone is on, I think, just shut it. So, give your mind to me, be devoted to me. The mind is lost in every other thing except me. So please give that mind, bring it inwards towards me, be devoted to me, become my devotee. I am not asking you to do any work, sir. I am not telling you you become a karma yogi or a jnana yogi or anything like that. I am only looking at you as my devotee. Bow down to me, worship me and bow down to me. मतलब अहंकार लेके मत आओ, तू किस खेत की मूली है ये मत बोलो मेरे को. You be gracious, you be kind, you feel nice about it. When you are bowing down to me, don't keep your ahankar ऐसा ऊपर देख के bow मत करो मेरे को. bow बोलेगा तो complete, सीधा मुंडी नीचे करने का, ऐसा ऊपर नहीं. So, I truly promise you, for you are exceptionally dear to me, resigning all your duties to me, the all-powerful and all-supporting God, Lord. Take refuge in me alone. I shall absolve you of all sins. Worry not. This is another very big disclaimer over here which he has given. When he says these words, resigning all your duties to me, he is not telling you तू सब काम मेरे ऊपर छोड़ देना तेरा. नहीं, कृष्णा ने बोला है resign all your duties to me, मतलब है ना वो मेरा काम जाके करेगा उधर. You have to do your duty. लेकिन ड्यूटी का जो भार है ना, the weight of doing your duty, that I will take it. I will ensure that the duty your body will perform, but I will take the load of it. That means what? एक simple example देता हूँ कि when you look at Kabir or Tukaram or Ramakrishna Paramahansa or Ramana Maharishi or Sai Baba or anybody in our world who are great sages, they had resigned their entire thing to the Lord. Correct? Now what happened to the dear ones, to the family, to the near and dear ones? You think he left them to the wind? No, they were taken care of. They were definitely taken care of. उनके खाने पीने का बंदोबस्त भी किया गया था. Please understand. You may be sitting in a Virupaksha cave, but I will send my devotee to you so that that person will come and feed you. That is my job. I will take care of you. You just do your part of the deal. Let me handle the rest. And that does not mean that I am going to give you $1 billion. No. Then you are bothered about $1 billion, not about me. So no, only that which is sufficient and enough to sustain you is all that will be given to you. Please understand, to become a devotee of Krishna is a very, very difficult task. He never gives anything beyond. If you say, give me 100 rupees, he will give you 2 rupees and say, but 2 rupees mein kaam chala. Seriously. Krishna will never give you the additional 98 rupees. He will say, if I give you 98 rupees and he give you 100 rupees, no, then you will ask me for 1000 rupees. And then you will expect me to give you that 1000 also. So he says, no, your sustainability is how much? 100 rupees, I will give you only 100. Jao. 900 rupees nahi dene wala hu. Yes, he takes care of your basic needs and your want. Yeah, the wants means, I want this, I want Hamara list of wants are too many. No, he is only going to take care of your basic needs. That's it. मतलब खाने पीने को जो बोलते हैं ना, हाँ, पैर फैलाने के लिए जितना चादर लगता है उतना ही देगा तुमको. कंबल, रोटी, ये वो अपना ऐसा 5 स्टार होटल नहीं देने वाला है, इतना याद रखो. And this is the part very few people actually don't understand. They think Krishna is going to give them the mahal. There is always Rukmini who is going to stop him, by the way. One day he thinks that he will give and he wants to eat that entire avalaki. Avalak काय बोलते हैं ना आप लोग? Puffed rice. वो पूरा खाने को देखता है, तो रुक्मिणी उसको बोलते हैं नहीं खाने का, बस एक मुट्ठी लिया ना बहुत हो गया, इतना ही लेना, वो देगा तुम उसको. So when Sudama goes back, he finds a very beautiful mansion over there. Now imagine Krishna would have eaten the entire rice, what would have happened? He would be the king of that land for all you know, Sudama. No. So here it is only what is needed is all that he is going to give. So here again, resigning all your duties to me, the all-powerful and all-supportive Lord, take refuge in me alone. I shall absolve you of all sins. Worry not. Sins, the karmas that are associated with your, like remember, Arjuna is supposed to fight in the battle. So there are, according to him, there are lots of karmas that he is going to perform, or a lot of sins he is going to perform. He says, don't bother about that. That is something that I am going to take charge of. You are not going to feel anything about it. In our material world, we do not think of these things. We think that what is the big deal in that? What you don't seem to understand is that little action also can lead us into multiple lives. Remember, even one single thought going out of sync in our world can generate a new life for us. One more. You remember the story of the king who was enchanted with that deer? He had to be born once again. So that should not happen. Resigning all your duties to me, or the all-powerful and all-supportive Lord, take refuge in me alone. I shall absolve you of all sins. Worry not. This secret gospel of the Gita should never be imparted to a man who lacks in austerity, nor to him who is wanting in devotion, nor even to him who is not willing to hear, and in no case to him who finds fault with me. Please understand, we are not supposed to talk about these things to those people who are not at all interested in it. Acha, theek hai. Okay, fine. I am not interested. The disinterested type of people don't bother to even talk about Krishna and what he is talking, Bhagavad Gita है या कुछ है. कोई जरूरी नहीं है ऐसे लोगों से बात करने का. There is no need for trying to explain to somebody who wants to fight with you. I'm sure there are lots of people in this world who would want to, tell you that their religion is far greater than what you are talking. What you are talking is bullshit and nonsense. We are not there to argue with these people. We don't argue. Our philosophy is live and let live. Acha, tumhara religion bahut acha hai. Okay, very good. So Krishna is telling you very nicely, the Gita should never be, imparted to a person who is lacking in austerity. मतलब वो throne पे बैठ के बोलता है अच्छा तू मेरे को बता जाना. No, we don't talk to such type of people. We don't talk to a person who is wanting in devotion. Okay? वो इधर देख के तुमसे बात कर रहा है. कोई जरूरी नहीं, ऐसे आदमी से बात करने का जरूरी नहीं है. He who offering the highest love to me preaches the most profound gospel of the Gita amongst my devotees shall come to me alone. There is no doubt about it. Now again, please remember the previous line is a disclaimer. Don't talk to people, those who are not willing to listen, those who are not on the right track. All those things you have to bear in mind. But the person who preaches the Gita also is my dearest. That is what he is saying in this line. He who offers the highest love to me, preaches the most profound gospel of Gita among my devotees, shall come to me alone. There is no doubt about it. So the one who preaches this Bhagavad Gita will also come to me. Among men, there is none who does dear me a more loving service than he, nor anyone shall be dearer to me on the entire globe than he. So the one who teaches this and practices it as well is the dearest to me. He one who is doing a loving service to me. This is a loving service to me because he is talking my language, isn't it? He is teaching you my language, so he will be dearer to me than the entire globe. Whoever studies this sacred dialogue of mine in the form of Gita, by him too shall I be worshipped with yagya of knowledge. Such is my conviction. So then there are those people who study this Bhagavad Gita on a very regular basis. For them also I will impart the knowledge to them, this yagya of knowledge, will also come to them. This is my conviction. The man who listens to the Holy Gita with reverence, being free from malice, he too is liberated from sin, shall reach the propitious world of the virtuous. So the one who listens to this thing also will be the dearest, he will also reach my world. Have you, O Arjuna, heard this gospel of the Gita attentively? And has your delusion born of ignorance been destroyed? O Dhananjaya, conqueror of riches. So he says to Arjuna, okay, so now have you heard me out completely, whatever I have supposed to tell you? I hope you have heard me. So Arjuna says to Krishna, by your grace my delusion has been destroyed and I have gained wisdom. I am free from all doubts. I will do your bidding. So Arjuna says, yes, I have heard everything that you have said to me. All my doubts have been cleared and I have understood every word that you have told me. Now I shall do whatever you are bidding me to do. See, I will do your bidding. Remember these words very carefully. This is what is the Swadharma, that which comes to you naturally. Today Krishna is standing in front of you in the form of your own consciousness. It is there right inside of you. He tells you very nicely, this is your Swadharma, this is what you got to do. So you got to do it in that manner. Sanjaya said, thus I heard the mysterious and the high thrilling conversation between Sri Krishna and the high-souled Arjuna, son of Kunti. So now we are going to wind up this. So Sanjaya is telling Dhritarashtra, this is whom I heard, this is what I have heard. Having been blessed with the divine vision by the grace of Sri Vyas, I heard in person this supremely esoteric gospel from the Lord of Yoga, Sri Krishna himself, imparting it to Arjuna. Now where did this Vyas Muni come into the picture? Remember, this entire thing has been told by Vyas Muni to his son, and it's passed on to Sukdev, to Sutta Goswami and so many other people. So now this entire conversation has been relayed back. Okay? Remembering over and over that sacred and the mystic conversation between Bhagwan Sri Krishna and Arjuna, O king, I am thrilled again and yet again. So when you listen to this conversation, see, we are doing this Bhagavad Gita I think many times, and we will continue to do this at least once in a year in our revision, because it's a part and parcel of our we have got I think SSD memory, isn't it? वो जाते रहता है, vanish होता है memory अपने. So solid state memory है अपना, कभी रहता है कभी नहीं रहता है. So now so that it retains, we have to have hard drive 1 TB store करके रखने का और etch करके रखने का, like you know how it was done in the Bible. When Moses went to the mountain and got those tablets, so we have to inscribe it in gold for us to remember these things. So we have to ensure that we keep on doing this Bhagavad Gita again and again. So you have to remember this wonderful form of Krishna. Great is my wonder, I am thrilled over and over again. Wherever there is Bhagwan Sri Krishna, the Lord of Yoga, and wherever there is Arjuna, the wielder of Gandiva bow, goodness, victory, glory, and unfailing righteousness will surely be there. Such is my conviction. So again the recitation ends over here by saying that Krishna and Arjuna, who are Krishna and Arjuna? The supreme divine consciousness inside of you is that Krishna, and you become that Arjuna. So where these two are always meeting, you know, and the wielder of the Gandiva bow is you. So goodness, victory, glory, and unfailing righteousness will surely be there. Such is my conviction. Thus in the Upanishads sung by the Lord, the science of Brahma, the scriptures of Yoga, the dialogue between Sri Krishna and Arjuna ends the 18th chapter entitled The Yoga of Liberation to the Path of Knowledge and Self-Surrender. That's all. So, any questions? No questions. Okay. Okay, anyway, but since we have ended this over here, so I was just going to tell you all that we will be starting a completely new text now, and that is called the Srimad Bhagavatam.